A neighborhood is targeted by a tire slasher.
Changes are coming to the carpool lane and certain drivers aren't happy about it.
Today is Yom Kippur, and celebrations are happening all over Los Angeles.
Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
An unusual crime spree took place in a neighborhood near USC early this morning. Good evening, I'm Taylor Elliott.
And I'm Colin Taylor. The incident left many people stranded. Residents in Jefferson Park woke up to an unpleasant surprise this morning. LAPD says tires were slashed on nearly 100 cars.
I mean, I just went out there about 5:30 in the morning and my tire was slashed, and I was like, something like this never happened in the neighborhood. You know, I've been living here for like almost 18 years.
The incidents occurred both on and near the 3300 block on Montclair Street. Police have taken 29-year-old Danielle Brown into custody. LAPD said she was, quote, randomly slashing tires, end quote, and have found no motive for the attack. Brown's bail has been set at $21,000. The undergraduate student government wants 2 student seats on the presidential search committee. Here's what some students think about USG's demands.
We are a democracy, and so I feel like every student needs to have the right to be able to vote for their president.
People should be able to voice their opinions, have their opinions heard in a forum of sorts, but not any sort of direct influence regarding to voting.
USG passed a resolution last night which says the search board should include student representatives to help rebuild trust. USG wants 1 undergraduate and 1 graduate student representative to have full voting rights on the committee looking for the new president.
We really felt like it was important to add a student voice to the committee. There's other colleges and universities across the country who have had student representatives on similar committees when they needed to find a president, and so a new president, and so I thought it was really important.
The resolution states that peer institutions have included students in their presidential search committees, and that the university is contradicting its own claim that student voices are valued.
International students at USC are being targeted with phone scams. DPS says callers threaten students about their immigration visas and demand as much as $5,000.
I got a phone call. It's a very ordinary number. When I pick up, they just said there's mail or express from the Chinese embassy.
DPS explained how these phone scams work and how they affect USC's international students.
Because they're not familiar with the tricks that some people would play here in the United States, such as misrepresenting themselves as a member of the Immigration and Naturalization Service. They may claim that there's a problem with their student visa or some other issue surrounding immigration, and they'll ask the student to send money.
DPS says students should be aware of the scam. Students should contact DPS with questions if somebody asks them for money. They should not meet with anyone in a remote location and report any incidents to DPS. The woman accusing Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault is asking for an FBI investigation before agreeing to testify in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Christine Blasey Ford says the incident took place while the 2 were in high school, more than 35 years ago. President Trump is urging the committee to continue with the confirmation process.
Justice Kavanaugh has been treated very, very tough, and his family, I think it's a very unfair thing what's going on. So we'll see. But I do think this, they've given it a lot of time. They will continue to give it a lot of time. And really, it's up to the Senate. And I really rely on them. I think they're going to do a good job.
The Senate had a preliminary vote on Kavanaugh planned for this week, but pushed it back in order to give the committee more time to investigate. Democratic Senator Mazie Hirono spoke out against the unfair treatment Ford has received from senators since sharing her story.
And when Dr. Ford said she would testify, I think she expected a modicum of a fair kind of a situation. The callousness with which she was treated, you know, for any of us who have dealt at all with the experience of sexual trauma knows that this is a very particularly damaging kind of experience.
The Senate Judiciary Committee will hold a public hearing on Monday. Republicans could still let Kavanaugh address the allegations, even if Ford doesn't attend.
California's Attorney General is once again teaming up with New Mexico in filing suit against the Trump administration for its third attempt to repeal an Obama-era rule. Tuesday, the U.S. Bureau of Land Management announced its rollback of a rule meant to reduce the excessive release of methane. Previously, the Bureau has tried to postpone and suspend compliance requirements. Now, they argue the costs outweigh the benefits, and its repeal would not break requirements set by the National Environmental Protection Agency. We spoke with a member from USC's Young Americans for Freedom for their take on the issue.
This should be left up to the states to decide. It's not up to the government to decide whether, we should tax flare-ups from companies or businesses here in California or in Texas. The needs are very different.
The U.S. Bureau of Land Management argues the rule collides with other tribal land regulations and does not foster economic growth. The waste prevention rule will be rolled back in 60 days unless the suit is successful. With midterm elections weeks away, young voters are being encouraged to get active.
And I'm in Beverly Hills, where I'll show you how one community is celebrating Yom Kippur. Coming up next.
And a USC student with crazy rich talent. Coming up.
Guess what? I have some news for you. There's free food right there, junk food. You see that truck? Oh, jeez. It's a 2 Michelin star chef. All for free, ladies and gentlemen. All for free.
Here we have a panzanella with summer vegetables and pesto. Enjoy. How we doing?
Fantastic. So what do you got going on underneath that plate there?
This food is really about to be thrown away.
Yeah.
Bro? Is there something wrong with this food? Where did you get it from?
From farmers markets. They put aside the ugly vegetables and the ugly fruits.
Carrot top, soft avocados. It was all food that was going to be discarded.
Even the drink you had is made from like a little bruised peach. Did it taste a little bruised?
Great. It was good.
The average person throws away 24 pounds of food a month.
That's a lot.
Isn't that a lot? Go visit savethefood.com for more information. Thank you. Junk food time!
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
I spy something beginning with S.
Snow.
No.
Snow-covered trees.
Nothing to do with snow.
Head outside to discover incredible animals and beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure.
Wow.
So grab your loved ones. Don't even. And explore a world of possibilities.
Come on, this way.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you.
Midterm elections are coming up in November, and many organizations are trying to encourage young voters to know the issues, register to vote, and make it to the polls. Young voters historically have a low turnout, and those numbers are even lower for Latino youth. Nonprofit groups rallied today to try to encourage those voters to show up at the midterm elections.
Youth are the fuel of the organization to tell the stories of those who are undocumented, but also to vote on behalf of a family member who cannot vote.
According to the U.S. Census Department, the 18 to 29 age group has had the lowest turnout since 1980 of any age group. In 2014, only 13% of youth voters turned out, just about the same as in 2012.
I mean, I think everyone should get out to vote as far as like a civic duty. You know, if you're a citizen of the United States, I feel like it's like your duty. Now, obviously, we're not all super free to be able to do it, you know, whether they have work or whether they're busy, so it becomes an issue. But
midterm elections are on November 6th, and the deadline to register to vote is October 22nd.
The governor signed a new law this week legalizing street vendors to sell food with proper permits. Vendors see positives in the new law and are hopeful for the new year.
We wait for more opportunities and to help the community too, and that's it.
City of Los Angeles. According to the leadership for Urban Renewal Network, 80% are women. The new law is meant to prohibit criminal penalties for sidewalk vending. Street vendors will now be regulated and need a permit. Local authorities may still cite a vendor for health and safety concerns. The bill will go into effect January 1st.
More than 200,000 electric car drivers could be left out of the carpool lane starting next year when their vehicle loses their Diamond Lane decals. Clean air advocates say the new measure could discourage car buyers from considering electric vehicles.
The holiest day of the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur, is today. Trevor Sahaki found out why different people interpret its meaning in different ways.
Song and dance filled synagogues today as the Jewish people celebrate Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar.
Yom Kippur is indeed a day of awe because 45 years ago, the Yom Kippur War began. In that war, I lost the friends of my youth.
The Beverly Hills Temple of the Arts filled its seats only a few minutes into prayer on this Day of Atonement. Yom Kippur is centered around repenting and making up for the sins of the past year through prayer and fasting. Temple goers of all ages dressed up, donning yarmulkes and prayer shawls, reminding them of their commandments and responsibilities. But this Day of Atonement, filled with yarmulkes and prayer shawls, has begun to carry a new meaning recently.
But yeah, we are living in a very stratified time. People do come together this time of year. They unite. They recognize what is the higher value system that they want to aspire to and correct the mistakes and wrongs of the past year.
At USC Hillel, Yom Kippur is especially challenging because students don't want to miss service nor class.
Technically, you're not supposed to be doing your schoolwork or doing the stuff that you normally do and not eat, but that's definitely tough when I have 2 presentations tomorrow, a paper due tomorrow.
Bailey London, USC Hillel's executive director, couldn't speak to me on camera due to religious reasons, but said she loves seeing students walk in with backpacks because it means they are trying to balance their faith with their life. In finding time to write their own lives, the Jewish people hope the rest of the world will follow. For Annenberg Media, I'm Trevor Sahaki.
This year's Super Bowl halftime performer has been revealed.
Plus, a biology student who's doing big things in the music industry. Let's toss it over to Buzz anchor Brogan Craner with the latest entertainment news.
Thanks, guys. Crazy Rich Asians made crazy rich money in the box office this summer. And if you went to see it, you probably heard a familiar song performed by one of our very own students. Last January, USC biology sophomore Catherine Ho received a text from a former music camp counselor. He suggested that she submit a demo for an unnamed film project.
It took a few hours to record it before class, and then I didn't think much of it, and then a few days later, the vocal contractor told me I'd gotten the job, and I totally freaked out.
That job was to sing a Mandarin rendition of the Coldplay song Yellow and the blockbuster hit Crazy Rich Asians.
I just had a feeling that this movie was going to be game-changing. It's such an important milestone in Asian representation for entertainment.
So why did the director choose the song Yellow?
He actually wrote a personal letter to Coldplay explaining how the song turned a racial derogatory slur of Asian people being yellow into a very beautiful and empowering adjective.
It was an opportunity of a lifetime for Ho. An opportunity that she wishes she could share with her younger self.
I would be like, hey, 2018, there's gonna be this really cool movie called Crazy Rich Asians, and after you see that movie, you're gonna realize that you should be so proud of your identity.
And fun fact, Catherine also competed on Team Adam Levine in season 10 of The Voice. And sticking with Adam Levine news, him and his band Maroon 5 have a brand new gig. They've got the moves like Jagger, and now you can see those moves at the 2019 Super Bowl halftime show. Although Maroon 5's rep is declining to comment, Billboard is reporting that it's a sure thing. The music news source also said that potential guest performers include Cardi B and Travis Scott. The NFL said that they are continuing to work on their halftime show plans, but either way, you can watch the event when it happens on February 3rd. Now, will you guys be watching the halftime show?
Hopefully. I'm a big Maroon 5 fan, so I will definitely be keeping my eye out for it.
Let's go to Sammy with the weather.
Well, I don't know if I'll be watching the halftime show, but I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on the skies. Looking at today's weather, we have temperatures of 76 degrees, pretty casual, nice LA weather. 52% humidity, so not bad. Looking into tomorrow, looking at the Highlands area, we have the temperatures are increasing over there, higher by San Bernardino and Palm Springs, almost 100 degrees, whereas Big Bear, as usual, is a little bit cooler than them at 73. Moving on over to the coastline, we have, again, high 80s, 90s, except for at Malibu, which is 74. Makes sense with the cool ocean breeze coming on in. And looking at the LA area, tomorrow at USC will be at a nice 83, whereas the rest around LA will be varying between the 70s and 90s, once again, cooler by the coastline. Well, it may be hot in LA, but the temperatures themselves seem to have frozen. Looking forward at the rest of the week, we have a startlingly consistent forecast with the high at 83 and low at 63 through every day going from Friday until Monday. Tomorrow will be slightly off 1 degree. You'll obviously be able to feel that intense difference in the heat. Today, President Donald Trump visited areas damaged by Hurricane Florence, calling Florence one of the most powerful and devastating storms ever to hit our country. As of today, Hurricane Florence has resulted in the death of at least 37 people. In North Carolina, 343,000 people have been left without power, and 10,000 people are currently living in shelters. Even across the country, though, there are several ways you can do your part to help provide relief for those affected.
It is too soon to know the extent of the damage. A little bit of money goes a long way at a small group. If you're throwing money at a Red Cross-sized agency, it's not going to be that useful because they have government money. There's nothing wrong with giving money directly to a victim.
Well, my hopes and dreams go out to the people suffering. I know it's going to be a long-term struggle for the people in North Carolina, and South Carolina, and I hope we don't ignore their struggle as it goes on and keep focusing on them even after the immediate effects of the storm.
I have a friend who her family is from there originally, and she's been posting pictures on Facebook and saying my thoughts and prayers are with everyone that's been affected.
Definitely. Well, thank you for the weather. LA Metro is considering renaming the rail lines from colors to letters and numbers. We spoke to writers about how this possible change would affect them.
People have been taking it for a long time. I feel like changing the names will confuse a lot of people.
For people who are like domestic, who travel already using the Metro, it won't really affect them. But for people who are like coming from like Northern Cal or like somewhere else, it might affect them, so like possibly tourists.
The studies show it's easier to identify rail lines by numbers and letters. In the next 10 years, Metro plans to add a San Fernando Valley line and a line between downtown and Artesia. It's also extending the Gold Line. All of these new lines will need names.
Current system, like the red and the purple line, they share stations and tracks that kind of confuse people. Same with the blue line and the Expo line, they share stations and track work. So we're trying to identify each line separately so that it'll make it a little bit easier.
The Metro Board of Directors will hear the naming proposals later this week.
And let's toss it to our sports anchor, Angel Viscara.
All right, it's September, but it's never too early for some UCLA competition. Tonight, the 14th ranked USC women's volleyball team will open conference play against the Bruins. Also, it'll be Friday night lights action this week for the USC football team against Washington State. And finally, we'll check in with the number 3 ranked women's soccer team as they enter Pac-12 play this Friday.
Fancy pants peanut butter? A big screen television? You haven't even bought a sofa yet. A motorcycle? When your father finds out, he's gonna flip his shoes with 2 buckles? What do you even need 2 buckles for? Mr. Big Shot, buying whiskey shots for everybody in the bar. From the looks of it, I'd say nobody even remembers. Feed the pig.
Did you know parking over tall, dry grass can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
And welcome back to ATVN. After back-to-back road losses, the now unranked USC football team will take on Washington State this Friday night at the LA Memorial Coliseum. And sophomore tailback Stephen Carr knows a good challenge lies ahead.
They move their fronts a lot, which we haven't seen. They have a very fast defense that's going to have to keep up with us. But they're a very good team.
And to break down USC's must-win contest against the Cougars this Friday, I'm joined by sports correspondent Cecil Hannibal. Cecil, how important, after two really tough losses, is it for the Trojans to get back on track in conference play this Friday night?
So, Angel, this is a big game for both USC and Washington State, right? USC needs to get their offense together. JT only has 1 touchdown in 3 games, right? Last week against Texas, they were -5 in rushing yards.
That's not a good thing, but let's talk about an offense that's high-powering. Washington State comes in with some studs on the offensive side of the ball. Go a little into them.
So first, the quarterback, right? Gardner Minshew, right? He's coming off being a Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week, right? Over 1,200 passing yards and 8 touchdowns in 3 games, right? His partner in crime, Tay Martin, he's a 6'3" wide receiver who's going to be a problem for the Trojan secondary.
Yeah.
But my favorite one of all, Jalen Thompson. He's a local kid. He's from LA. He played at Downey High School. He's been waiting to get a shot at the Trojans.
There we go. Well, let's talk a little bit about JT Daniels, obviously USC's freshman phenom. What does he need to do for a big game Friday?
So JT has a tendency of throwing into double coverage, right? With Jalen Thompson out there, he can't make those mistakes. We have to gel on offense. Him and T. Martin have to figure out how to get this team going, or T. Martin's going to be in the hot seat at the end of this season.
Absolutely, and let's talk a little bit about the defensive side of things for the Trojans. They're going to be without a big name for the first half. Could you go a little bit into how tough that's going to be?
So last week, Porter Gustin got caught up in a penalty, right? So he's gonna miss the first half of this game. So he's the defensive anchor. The rest of the team has to step up, right? Inside linebacker Cameron Smith, Marvell Tell, and Iman Marshall have to step up and really, play hard this week. They have to be aggressive. Washington State loves to throw the ball, right? They're an air-it-out type of team, and we have to play aggressive in our secondary.
Well, I tell you what, Cecil, too, when the Trojans won that Rose Bowl back in 2016, they were actually 1-3 before they went on that big run. So who knows, maybe a big run lies ahead for the Trojans. Thanks for all the insight, my man. And the Trojans, they will need a big bounce back this week. Like we mentioned, 2016 was the last time this program was not ranked. But now let's hear from Clancy Pendergast about the absence of Porter Gustin and how much that hurts.
Well, we just have to move on and expect to get him in there in the second half and make the necessary adjustments rep-wise in practice to where whoever is replacing him gets the ample amount of work until we get him out there.
And USC will be taking on UCLA tonight at the Galen Center. So while we have some big action going on Friday, tonight you can go down to the Galen Center to catch the number 14th ranked USC women's volleyball team taking on UCLA in a matchup that'll open up conference play for the women of Troy.
Obviously, UCLA is a huge rivalry, but we're really looking forward to all the fans coming out. We love playing in that atmosphere with all the high intensity, and we're just going to really stick together and focus on our technique and what the coaches have taught us so far, and hopefully come out with a win.
The women of Troy are currently riding a 3-match winning streak, including victories over Louisiana and San Diego this past weekend. Historically, USC is 32-10 all-time in conference season openers. After taking on UCLA tonight, USC will hit the road for a conference matchup with Colorado this Sunday. Another USC team making its way into conference play will be the number 3 ranked USC women's soccer team. The Huskies will be coming to town this weekend as USC puts its perfect 7-0 record on the line at McAllister Field. Head coach Kaidani McAlpine expects Pac-12 play will bring new challenges to his team.
I think we've started off well. We've put ourselves in a good position in terms of the way we're playing. But as we start Pac-12s and the competition week to week gets a little bit more difficult, it will definitely position us into a better place where we will be able to execute at that point in time.
At 7-0-1, USC is currently on its best start to a season in program history. A heavy day for the Dallas Mavericks as a 43-page report detailed a culture of sexual harassment and misogyny within the basketball organization. Mavericks owner Mark Cuban responded strongly to the report, pledging a $10 million donation to organizations benefiting and empowering women in the workforce. But on a lighter note in the hoops world, get your popcorn ready, folks. After years of speculation, it is finally happening. Space Jam 2. And who else to take the lead role but LeBron James, LA Bron himself. The newly acquired Laker will be teaming up with USC graduate Ryan Coogler, who also produced Black Panther, who will be producing the sequel to the hyper-popular 1997 basketball flick. So I know we have this big debate, LeBron versus Jordan. Who's your GOAT? Hey, both of them have now been in Space Jam, so let's see who the GOAT is now, right?
Neither. Bugs Bunny.
Órale.
Well, Sony is going out old school with their latest product, and we'll tell you more why hardcore gamers are excited.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
迷惑ボーイ。
ここは何とかしなくちゃ。
スーパーカインドの交通機関案内。
When you ride on the bus or rail, don't eat popcorn, meat, or kale. Food can smell and it makes a mess. Keep LA Metro clean and fresh. Come along with me, let's go. It's time to ride on the Metro. When eating food causes problems, you know Super Kind will be there to solve them. Come along with me, let's go. It's time to ride on the Metro. When eating food causes problems, you know Super Kind will be there to solve them.
Sony announced they'll be going retro with their newest game station, and gamers are excited for the return of the old school trend.
Capitalizing on nostalgia for sure. I feel like people who had those consoles and maybe like sold them off or whatever, had them sold at a garage sale without their consent. Maybe you're like, oh my god, I really want to reclaim that part of my childhood. But really, I think at this point you can just find other ways to get those games.
The new gaming system will be called PlayStation Classic and will be preloaded with 20 classic games and will cost around $100. Thanks for watching Annenberg TV News. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Taylor Elliott.
And I'm Colin Taylor. You can watch us on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com. Good night.